is up, you guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host Ayman Hassan and welcome back to another video. Now today we're talking about the worst thing everyone loves, and that is scary disappearances. I don't know why, but I always watch these types of docs on Netflix. Like, I've literally seen all of Forensic Files despite it being old as hell, but things like that are just very interesting to me. Interesting for us, but sad for the families actually involved that sometimes never get to find out what happened to their loved ones. So with that being said, today we're counting down the top 10 scary disappearances that remain unsolved. Starting us off at number 10 is the Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. On March 8, 2014, a Boeing 777 aircraft with 227 passengers and 12 crew members aboard it vanished into thin air. The flight, which was headed to Beijing and departed from Kuala Lumpur International, was going smoothly until the plane crossed into Vietnamese airspace. Although the captain checked in with air traffic control in Kuala Lumpur, he failed to communicate with Ho Chi Minh City air traffic control, so what the hell happened there? Coincidentally, at the same time, the plane tracker also stopped working, so there was no way of knowing where it was. Of course, the military still had a radar which could track it and saw the flight go off course and head southwest, with many believing it went that way for at least 5 hours. To this day, only pieces of the plane have been found, and there are tons of theories as to what happened, from an intentional attack to the captain taking his own life along with all the passengers. We may never know what happened to that flight, and it's absolutely heartbreaking for the victims' families and incredibly scary. Coming in at number 9 is Ben McDaniel. McDaniel was a scuba diver, and on August 18, 2010, he went for his last possible dive. Ben went to Vortex Spring in Florida and tried to access a part of the underwater cave that was only for intermediate divers. Although Ben didn't really have any qualifications, the Vortex Spring employees still let him go through, fearing he would try to sneak in anyway, get caught in the gate, and then drown. That was the last time anyone saw Ben McDaniel alive. Over a dozen cave divers would search every inch of the cave, and it was determined someone Ben's size couldn't get stuck too deep in the cave. An above ground search which ran over the course of 36 days didn't turn up anything either. To this day, no one knows what happened to Ben, although some think he may have started a new life, while others think the exact opposite. At number 8, we have Patrick Warren and David Spencer. On Boxing Day 1996, these two best friends told their parents they were going to visit one of Patrick's brothers. 11-year-old Patrick left his house riding his brand new bike, while 13-year-old David was on foot. The next day, one of Patrick's other brothers, Derek Warren, went looking for the boys when he found out they never arrived at their destination. Now, at first, police thought the boys had run away, then Patrick's bike was found behind a gas station. It took them weeks to realize it was actually Patrick's, and this led to an investigation which got very little media attention, but included the boys' faces being plastered on many milk cartons. Professor David Wilson, a criminologist, believes the case was mishandled to begin with because of the boys' families' working class backgrounds. The class wars, they just never end, do they? Although a suspect was named, there was never enough conclusive evidence to believe he was actually guilty. A police chief with the homicide unit went on record saying she believes the boys are dead but will not stop investigating until they have the answers they're looking for. Filling our number 7 slot is Ray Gricker. Ray worked as a district attorney in Center County, Pennsylvania, and on the 15th of April 2005, he randomly just vanished. Ray was skipping work as he usually did on Fridays. However, when Gricker didn't come home, his girlfriend reported him missing, and the cops found his car parked not far from a bridge. Ray was never seen again, but a fisherman found Ray's laptop months after his disappearance. Oddly, the hard drive had been removed, but was also eventually found on shore. Although it was too damaged to extract any information, investigators found searches on Ray's home computer that read how to wreck a hard drive and water damage to a notebook computer. Here's where things get even more interesting though. Some believe Gricker was murdered because he was part of an investigation involving Jerry Sanfusky, yet Gricker had declined to press charges back in 1998. Gricker retired in 2005, and something out of fear, he may have been set up to keep the truth from coming out. Ultimately, Sandusky wouldn't be able to stop the truth from coming out regardless if he was part of Gricker's disappearance or not. The truth always comes out, baby. Now at number 6 is Amelia Earhart. On July 2nd, 1937, Earhart disappeared while flying over the Pacific Ocean. We should all know the story by now, I don't need to tell it to you guys. There are countless theories regarding what really happened, from her simply crashing to being captured as a war criminal and so on. As of now, there isn't enough evidence to allow us to fully understand what truly happened. Remains have been found over the years, both of what's believed to be Earhart as well as the remains of of her plane, but there is no way to be at 100% certain. By 1939, Earhart was declared legally dead, although there was no reason to assume so. Some think it was to allow her husband to remarry, others think it was in hopes it would give people the closure they needed. Either way, till this day, no one knows what really happened to the incredibly brave Amelia Earhart. Coming in at number 5 is Lauren Spierer. In the early hours of June 3rd, 2011, a 20-year-old student at Indiana University, Lauren Spierer, would go missing. And it's very weird how little information there is on this disappearance. Lauren was with her friend Corey Rossman leaving a bar around 2:30 a.m. and they were both pretty intoxicated. The two of them went to Lauren's place, then Corey's place, where he would fall asleep. Lauren would then try making her way home but ended up at Corey's neighbor's place and would leave there around 4:30 a.m., which was the last time anyone saw her. Coincidentally, when Lauren's boyfriend Jesse Wolf tried to get in touch with her, he found out she had left her phone at the bar. After the 2015 murder of a 22-year-old just miles away from Lauren's campus, police thought they may finally have a suspect. After investigation, there was no connection between the two cases, and to this day, no one knows what happened to Lauren. At number 4 is Brian Schaefer. On March 31st, 2006, Brian Schaefer would meet up with his friend William Clint Florence at a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Very ugly name. The two would go bar hopping all night until returning to the Ugly Tuna just before 2 in the morning. Security footage shows Schaefer going into the bar but never leaving. Although the boys went out on a Friday night, Schaefer wasn't reported missing until Monday when he didn't show up for his flight to Miami, where he was supposed to spend spring break with his girlfriend. The Ohio State medical student was grieving the loss of his mother, and those around him say he took it incredibly hard, leading them to believe Schaefer may have taken his own life. Others think he may have been a victim of foul play, and interestingly enough, his friend who he was with, William, refused to take a lie detector test. But that doesn't account for the security cameras not seeing him or someone carrying his body and leaving. That's the scariest part. Where did he literally go? Filling at number 3 slot is Jimmy Hoffa. You may recognize the name because the Netflix movie The Irishman was all about him. Spoiler alert, he is missing. The mobster who is most notably known for leading the Teamsters Union and gaining clemency from President Richard Nixon went missing in 1975 and till this day has the FBI completely stumped. After being released from prison early in 1971, Hoffa would spend the next 4 years under the watchful eye of the FBI. Then he would enter a Michigan restaurant, presumably to meet with other mob bosses, and disappear never to be seen again. Some believe he was taken out, while others simply don't even know where to begin. Hoffa was declared legally dead in 1982, although his body was never recovered, and as recently as 2013, the FBI was still digging up a field near Detroit looking for evidence. They didn't find any. Now at number 2 is Boris Weisfehler. In 1984, the 43-year-old man took a trip to Chile, where authorities concluded he drowned while trying to cross a river on a hike. The only evidence that Weisfehler was ever by a river was the fact his backpack was found near one. 16 years after his disappearance, US documents became declassified, and it turns out a witness allegedly saw Weisfehler being interrogated before being shot point blank. This led to a new investigation, and in 2012, a total of 8 men, including police and military officers, were charged with Weisfehler's disappearance and kidnapping. 4 years later, the case was closed and the men were all freed. Weisfehler's body still hasn't been found, and his family is still looking for answers regarding his disappearance. And finally, at number 1 are the Beaumont siblings. In 1966, 9-year-old Jane, 7-year-old Anna, and 4-year-old Grant would oddly disappear from Glenelg Beach in Australia. Their parents let them go to the beach quite often as long as they came home by their curfew. When the children left that day at 10 a.m. and didn't return for their 2 p.m. curfew, the Beaumonts got worried. By 7:30 that night, their mother called the police, and witnesses at the beach said they saw the kids with a tall blonde guy with a very thin face. A local vendor also told authorities the kids bought a meat pie, which was strange because the kids had never purchased one before and their parents hadn't sent them out with any money. This led to even more unanswered questions. Where did they get the money for the meat pie? Why did they even buy a meat pie? And most importantly, where did the children go? There's still $1 million reward regarding their disappearance. Some think the man abducted them, while others fear they were washed out to sea, or Grant got pulled out and assistants attempted to save him and failed. Honestly, when I first read this story, it really gave me a series of unfortunate events vibes, like 3 children, Beaumont, Baudelaire, thin blonde man, Count Olaf. Are we seeing the parallels? Because I certainly am making them. And that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly did. I feel like there's still many on this list that I didn't know, and I thought I knew it all by now. Clearly I don't. I have to stop being cocky. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, I'm your host, Ayman Hassan, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!